All right, well, people, we're so happy to welcome you to Splice Beta online again. This is day 3, the second session of the day. We've been having a wonderful, wonderful time with this community. Thank you again for coming. Just a quick introduction. I know that a lot of you have seen this before, so forgive me, but I do think it's polite to introduce ourselves. I'm Rashad, this is Alan, and Shirley, our producer, is working behind the scenes as usual, but we're going to train the camera on her very soon, just to embarrass her.
Very quickly about what we do at Splice. Our goal is to help drive the transformation of media across this region. We believe that the transformation that we all want to see in the industry will be done by the work of media startups. And so what we do is to support them by training them, supporting them through funding, and also making sure that we have resources like Splice Beta at their disposal. And the reason why we do beta is so that we can help drive that. You know, we take a strong view that we need a whole ecosystem to come together if we want to build a strong, resilient media industry. Beta is where we bring together funders, we bring together big tech companies, we bring together designers, we bring together product people to basically craft what we think the future of media could be.
I'm really proud. I think we're all really proud of what we've done with beta this year, given that it's it's a COVID year and it's online. But we're happy that apart from 40+ sessions and speakers like yourself, Lichin, with your expertise, we're very proud that we have a 50-50 gender balance. We don't like manels at all. We're running this across 1 month, as you know, and we have 5 stacks. By stacks, I mean that Mondays are for business and strategy, Tuesdays are for product, Wednesdays are for audiences and users and customers, Thursdays are for management and operations, Fridays are for media careers. So we're going to have media careers on show for you tomorrow. All you need to do is go to splicebeta.com program, and that's where you will see that we have these awesome people, Linda Cruz from Malaysia, Kini, Deborah from New Narrative. I mean, I'm really excited about this as well.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow at 4. There's also Mariam Chaudhry, the founder of The Current from Pakistan, who's on at this time tomorrow at 7 p.m. Singapore time. Alan, let's thank the sponsors, man.
We have so many great sponsors to thank. Facebook Journalism Project, thank you so much. You guys really stood by us and made this happen. Conrad Adenauer Stiftung, Google Illuminate, MDIF, thank you. Petbird for pushing us and nudging us and encouraging us to make this happen. Foyo, IMS, AFP, Click to Views providing us technical support. So is Puma Podcast.
I have some quick ground rules. We all know this. Again, I think all of you know this by heart, of course. By the way, Shirley, Pat Bird is asking, she's baying, she's saying she needs to meet you. I think you might need to make a quick appearance.
That's right. You go on.
I'll tell you the ground rules.
Yeah.
We'll embarrass Shirley on camera. But please tweet this. That would be wonderful. Use the hashtag. If you use headphones and microphones, that'd be awesome. We want to hear from you and we want your sound to be awesome. Find a quiet room, good light. Please leave your comments and questions for Lichin and Alex in the chat box. I promise that we will represent them, your questions to them. If you're not speaking, put yourself on mute. Surely say hi to the camera. This will be publicly available on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. A quick point about porn bombing. We were once porn bombed. Some lame dude showed some porn website. If this happens, we'll ignore it, we'll bump him, and we'll move on. Be kind, be generous, and be tolerant of each other. We're all still figuring this out. But now,
this is where we begin. Alex Fenby, why don't you take the honors of introducing this session and our wonderful guest in Lichin.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having us, Splice. I want to first thank you guys immensely, Alan, Rishad, and Shirley. It's quite remarkable how you were able to pivot from the real world to the virtual world and set up a month-long festival, the three of you together.
Not by choice.
Quite incredible. You know, Facebook is truly a friend and a supporter of your efforts. So thank you so much. Thank you so much also to Lee Chin for joining us. So Lee Chin is the Chief Operating Officer of Content and Commercial at Malaysia Sinchu Daily. And they've been on an incredible journey of digital transformation and have had some resounding successes, including with instant articles. And finally, I just want to tell everybody that I want to be transparent about instant articles before we launch into the presentation. We decided to have this session today because since the start of COVID and the economic downturn, we've had a lot of conversations with media companies, big and small, about them struggling and pushing through to create and grow their engagement, to grow their audiences, and also to find new revenue streams and digital revenue streams. And we think that instant articles is a great way to do those things. But there are some trade-offs, and I think it's fair to share that there are indeed some trade-offs of implementing instant articles, especially for a smaller media company. One, it does require a few resources to implement and to put in place. Secondly, it is a different workflow in terms of publishing your content. And thirdly, it does actually replace on Facebook the links that you post that you use to drive referral traffic back to your website. So I do want to be very clear that we think there's tremendous benefits out of instant articles, but it's a decision that you need to make in terms of what benefits your business. I'm now going to try and present my screen. Is that working?
It's coming up right now. Yep, that's perfect.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned, my name is Alex. I'm the news partnership lead for Southeast Asia for Facebook, and I'm based in Singapore. So first of all, what are instant articles? Let's start there. So instant articles are a native format of publishing articles on Facebook, and they allow obviously very rich multimedia experiences. But the key thing here is that they allow the fastest possible load time for your content on newsfeed to reach your audience. And because of that, you find that there are incredible value that is delivered both to the users as well as to the publisher on Facebook. The key to instant articles is faster load time. And that is what happens is that articles are actually pre-fetched and then instantly loaded into the Facebook app. And that approach and that mechanism basically leads to a lot more engagement, a lot more traffic, and ultimately a lot more revenue. And I'll go in detail a little bit in just a moment about how these things actually happen. First of all, a kind of plug. It's been a product that has been incredibly popular with our news partners. 65 of the top 100 most clicked web domains on Facebook use instant articles. And overall, we found that 35,000 pages on Facebook use IA, including very large, but also small and independent news companies as well. Because it's such an important product for news publishers, it's one that Facebook continues to invest in significantly. In 2019, we made quite a lot of enhancements to instant articles. The first one is what we call recirculation. And this is actually a really important one in terms of audience development and engagement, which is that on an instant article, by swiping right, people can browse other headlines from the same publisher. In fact, by swiping right, they're going to be able to view 50 personalized and chronological articles from that very same publisher. So it really helps you deepen your relationship with the reader and familiarize readers with your content and with your brand. The second enhancement that we did was a footer update to create far more interactions with instant articles. We added a save button, a discuss and share buttons. We also added more viewable content, as well as the footer recirculation unit as well. And then finally, we linked instant articles to stories in 2019. So what this means is that basically links that are shared inside of Facebook stories, either from a Facebook page or from a cross post from instant article, from Instagram, will render as an instant article. And this is really interesting because this offers publishers a kind of new and rapidly growing source of distribution. As it's indicated there, our data shows that more than 300 million people are viewing stories each and every day. So it's a great way to engage your audience and to share your content with your audiences as well. Okay, so now let's talk about the distribution and why instant article allows for greater distribution. I think the first thing that's really, really important to remind everybody is that actually instant articles traffic on Facebook is actually your traffic. So we've integrated with major third-party measurement providers like Comscore, like Google Analytics, like Nielsen's, so that the instant articles traffic counts towards your website traffic. As I mentioned earlier, instant articles are prefetched and they load instantly onto the Facebook app. And what we found that this native format actually loads between 4 and 4.6 times faster than mobile web globally, depending on the device and depending on the region. This is really important, especially in markets where maybe network connectivity isn't that great, to ensure that you give a seamless experience to people when they want to engage with your content. This then basically leads to more engagement and a lower bounce rate. So the fact that the load time is so fast means that people will get to see your content. They will be able to engage with your content. What that means for publishers is that ultimately you get more views, you get more clicks, and ultimately you get more time spent from your readers on your articles. This in turn drives more engagement, and because of that we get a distribution lift inside of newsfeed. So all of those engagement metrics that I mentioned, such as views and click and time spent, all of that contributes to an organic lift in your distribution inside of the newsfeed. And in Asia, for example, that is 55% higher in terms of the distribution that you get versus an EBWEM link, which is quite significant. With that increased distribution, you'll then get more ad impressions, which then can lead to more revenue. And we offer 3 different types of monetization options on instant articles. The first one is what we call direct sold. So this is where actually you as a publisher can sell and fill the instant article inventory yourselves. Ads can be served from your publisher's ad server, including Google's DoubleClick for Publishers solution. The best part of direct sold is that you get to keep 100% of your revenue. The second monetization option is Facebook demand, where you can actually get Facebook to autofill the ad slots. And that's really the way to think about it, is that as a news organization, you may not have a very large sales team, or maybe your inventory isn't necessarily generating fantastic CPM rates on various DSPs. So you can actually get Facebook with our very large sales team, with our very comprehensive reach, with our targeting, with our brand safety, to do the work for you and to fill your inventory on instant articles. And then the third monetization is branded content. And that's an additional revenue stream that we offer to publishers using instant articles. And branded content has been very successful on Facebook. Our internal data shows that there's an average lift of about 13 percentage points in ad recall for posts where branded content tag is actually used. There are also a lot of off-platform benefits to instant articles that help you drive loyalty as well as indirect revenue. And I'll mention these very, very quickly. So in 2017, we launched call to action units that help publishers drive these additional business goals. So these call to action buttons, which are inserted within your instant articles, you can get people to like your page. You can get people to sign up to your newsletter. You can get people to download and install your app. You should think about these CTA buttons as, in effect, kind of free ad units that help you generate new leads, deepen your connection with your readers. I'm going to pause there. We've got a lot of resources on instant articles. I've shared this slide with the Splice folks, and they'll distribute it to you guys so that you can learn much more about instant articles. We've got a blueprint course, as well as a lot of great case studies that show the success that we've had on instant articles. Finally, you know, some of these tremendous success stories with instant articles include some publishers in Asia. And today we're super lucky to have Li Chin join us from Sinchu Daily. They, as I mentioned earlier, been on an amazing journey in digital transformation and finding new digital revenue streams. In the case study that they just published with us, they kind of demonstrated how they were able to grow revenue by 90% last year through instant articles. So I'm going to hand over to Li Chin to explain how they were able to deliver that amazing success story.
All right, cool. Hi, everybody. I have been hearing so much great things about Splice and Splice Better, and I've always wanted to check it out. And it's really such a wonderful experience, opportunity that, you know, like got me onto this and shared some of our instant article experience. And then, yeah, I'm here. Well, it's virtual. I really hope to join the festival one day, like when it's physically on and when we can all travel. Yeah, really hope that that's gonna happen. So just today, I'm going to talk about what we did with IA and our journey in Sinchu with IA. So, but I think you might be very familiar with us. Sinchu Daily is actually a Chinese newspaper serving Malaysian readers for more than 90 years. Today, we still have millions of people reading our newspaper. Our daily circulation is about like 200,000 to 300,000 in that range. But we also realized that our audience has aged, and we have a lot of like similar challenges with news publisher all over the world. So we wanted to reach out to younger people. And in the past decade, we have actually built like a sizable amount or a presence in digital world. So today, when we are talking about instant article, that's social media. So our presence on Facebook, we have 2 million followers, and we also have like a video platform or a brand that actually produce video for a print publisher, and we are on Insta, and we are also on Chinese Weibo, and we are starting to do TikTok and Telegram. Actually, our strategy has always been we want to reach out to as many people as possible at the different platform available. So our journey on instant articles started in 2015. I actually have forgotten how long it has been until I Googled that, yes, we are the first few publishers to adopt IA in Malaysia. And at that point of time, I think in the digital publishing world, we were facing a few big challenges. We have a lot of mobile audiences coming into our website. When I say website, is like our flagship site, sinchu.com.my. And then we weren't able to really provide a wonderful user experience back then in terms of mobile publishing. So when we were actually offered the opportunity to try out or actually use Instant Article, we studied a bit and we jumped on it, and then hence we started it. And this was, I think a lot of things has changed, and we have been constantly, the product itself has been constantly evolved. And as a publisher, we have always find ways to see how it can complement our digital strategy as in a whole. So in 2019, that's when a major change happened with our strategy on Instant Article. That's when we really put, like, we went on 100%. If you have a chance to look into the case study that we did with Facebook journalism project recently, it wasn't really a purposeful action or a purposeful strategy within what we have done. Our CMS, as part of our digital transformation, where we wanted more of our journalists to really produce stories faster and have more ownership with their stories, especially their digital presence. So we had a major revamp where we implemented a new CMS. So it's also we really need when it comes to Instant Article, we have to either have it or just stop Instant Article altogether. So that's when Instant Article. So we hold close to our heart. It's always very important to strategize your content. Instant Article seems to be like a programmatic product, or maybe a programmatic ways to actually increase your monetization or to enhance your monetization. But after all, it's still one of the important platforms, social media or Facebook, for you to reach out to audience that might have not heard of your brand before. So engagement is always the key performance that we have for our team here. And I know a lot of you might not have a lot of very advanced analytic tools. It's the same here with us as well when we first started. So we were very excited when we were offered, again, an opportunity to use CrowdTangle. It turns out to be a super good tool to benchmark against competitor publishers, other publishers, or maybe good source to actually look into trending topics and to really identify what's best that's resonating with our audience. It has been a very good platform for our social media editor to see. So what we really do is we actually look into top performing posts in different regions. We have a few dashboard which I didn't really have time to capture it, but if you really try out, you know that you can set you can look into different region, you can set different dashboard for competitors. And you need to test and learn. I think like a lot of products that you have been building as a publisher, you really need to test and learn. And that's the same with your content strategy. So another part about it is I've emphasized enough that IA is to complement to your content, your digital strategy. So we find two very, very useful call to actions that publisher really should try out. I'm not so sure how it's going to work for your own for your own website or for your own products, but it has really worked well for us. So one thing was call to action for people to install apps. Of course, this is going to bring people that have reached out to you on your Facebook. They might be casual users on top of the funnel, and then they can move on actually to your own platform, your own digital assets. And then another one that we find it really, really useful, and we have been implementing it for a year or so. It's the call to action for people to do newsletter subscription. We had a few interpretation or insights that we developed out of this whole exercise. We realized that perhaps people really, especially those who has been reading news casually on this platform, they realize that they need people to actually post them alerts through emails, a better way so that they can continue to access to news that from reliable source. And another thing that which we also realized that it's very helpful for our page view is you can actually build in recommendation links for your own website in your instant article. I've just checked the numbers yesterday. The numbers continue to grow. I think this is something that we have implemented like 6 or 7 months ago. So we see that it continued to grow, the number of people that come onto our site directly. So this is also something that maybe publishers can really look into. And I think so. One message that I really like to share is if you are publishing on IA instant article and and really monetization is what you're looking for, you really have to think about your content strategy. It's after all a content product, so try to work out some ways that you can really increase engagement, and then you can build everything that's to your favor as a publisher on the product itself. Yep, I think that's about that. Let me stop this. Okay.
Can I jump in with one
Sure.
very quick question? So
Sure.
I'm intrigued by the numbers. To be honest, Alex, I haven't caught up with instant articles since it was first announced, and so this was really quite remarkable to see what the features and the functionality were. So Lee Chin, can you talk a little bit about how you monetize based on some of the features that Alex was talking about earlier, like direct sales versus programmatic?
Okay. I think all of the monetization methods that or Alex has shared. We have tried everything. It's either Facebook demand or branded content or selling direct. This is everything that we have tried everything, and it works for us in a way. I can't really share the numbers, but it's really helpful for us.
It seems like a whole publishing suite. I've really got to up my knowledge on instant articles, but it seems really powerful.
Maybe, can I just jump in very quickly?
Yes.
I would say so. I would say in terms of what we've seen as the most popular area for instant articles monetization is that Facebook demand. And I wonder whether sometimes for some emerging newsrooms or emerging companies, as I mentioned earlier, who may not necessarily have large sales teams, or if they do go to DSPs and other things like that, tend to see relatively low CPMs and fill rates from those DSPs. We've seen that a lot of publishers just kind of lean into Facebook and say, well, can you do the job for us? Why don't you do the sales for us? Obviously, as I mentioned, we have large sales teams. We have really good targeting, obviously, as well. So we make sure that we match relevant advertising to the content that you're publishing. Brand safety is another really big one. So obviously, because of our rules, you probably won't get some kind of dodgy brands against your content that you might get on other programmatic platforms. So just anecdotally, we've seen that tremendous kind of take up in terms of that Facebook demand part. But it's up to, as Lee Chin says, for each and every publisher to decide their own best possible route.
Lee Chin, there's a quick question from Junie from One Ifra.
Hi, Jun.
We all know Junie. Yes.
Yes.
Junie, I'd love if you were to unmute yourself and speak forth.
Sure. Okay. Yes, I'm just curious. You said you have an audience of 2 million on Facebook. Congratulations. Well, any idea how many % are local and how many are from the Malaysian students overseas or business people living overseas and all that?
I think it's rather consistent with what we see on our own website. 80% are Malaysians, but of course, a huge, I think about 10, 11% are actually from Singapore.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes. I think
maybe they are Malaysians in Singapore.
Yes. And of course, all over, you can see a bit from Australia, from US, from UK. I think there are Malaysians residing overseas and that have been engaging with the brand and wanted to continue to engage with the brand.
So it's a mainly local audience then.
Yes.
Hey, so since this is a stack that's on operations, I think it'd be interesting to hear some of your workflow kind of processes around this. So,
Yes.
what kind of CMS are you using right now for content?
Oh, okay. We are using a custom CMS. It's not proprietary, but we are working with a vendor from China.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also in sync with our publishing solution, print publishing
Right.
solution.
Right. So your writers publish the article automatically goes on a website, also goes out to instant articles. Is that correct?
The word automatically is actually very it's actually a very wishful, I mean, it's our dream, but you know, it doesn't really happen that way, because for a different platform, again, you need to tailor-made maybe your headlines and stuff. So you need a bit tweaking before publishing, but it definitely saves a lot of work to re-upload it onto your CMS and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember when the product first launched, you had to do it twice. You know, you publish onto your own website and then you copy and paste into I guess a form basically that push into IA. Has that changed, Alex? What are there plugins now that can be used on the publisher side?
Yes, so there's a lot of plugins on many of the CMS systems where it's now just a click of a button to publish to instant articles rather than an entire cut and paste job. On that operational question, actually, Li Chin, you were telling me earlier that, I mean, you know, obviously Sinchu is a pretty large media company versus some of these startups and smaller independent newsrooms. But you were saying that your instant article team is a team of 2 people. So can you talk a little bit about how you're able to execute from the content that you select to the publishing to the tracking of the performance, how it's all done with just 2 people, and whether that can be replicated by other newsrooms?
I think it's 3 people, including myself. But anyways, the same developer that has been working with us since 2015 on Instant Article has been helping out on the integration, the tag integration bit. And then I also have a colleague who is doing who is actually doing revenue operation that helps me to monitor. Like perhaps, you know, I know that last week there's a particular day that has very high eCPM, and we have been looking into it and see what happened that particular day, anything like, you know, with the traffic or with the demand. And so it served like as a takeaway for us and see whether we can replicate the same experience. So it's just purely, you know, once you integrated it, I think it might be painful, because I was still talking to my developer that today before I come on to speak, maybe, you know, I would share better experience. The first few weeks, I mean, to roll it in, to integrate it is still painful, but because after that, everything is automated from your CMS. So it saves a lot of trouble. It doesn't really affect your daily workflow, and then you can go back to do your strategy, your content, you know, how you continue to engage on your social media. I think that's the beautiful part about it.
Li Chin, I had a question, if I may jump in, about not just management workflows and operational workflows, and we've talked a little bit about publishing. I want to know about mindsets. Are you seeing that the Sinchu desk or the editorial desk, you know, do tools like this, because they're so powerful, they give you an insight into who's engaging with your content? Is that making Sinchu journalists a little more clued in as to, you know, engaging with audiences, what their product is? That's the big mindset change that we're wanting to see.
Yes, I think it's very important. I think when we started out in 2015, nobody cares. I mean, of course, we started earlier on, you know, 2010, we have a website, we publish onto Facebook. Nobody really cares whether your stories is being featured on our social media, or on our Facebook page in particular. But today, people will come to us and say, I want to pitch this story, especially journalists themselves. I think that's very, very important. That's such a huge change compared to what, when we first started, or when I first started coming online. So I think I'm anticipating to see more of these changes, and perhaps, next time they would be happy to do a TikTok story with me, then that would be even better. So now we have journalists managing our own IG account as well. So they want to try something new. So yeah, I mean, by all means, it's really, we need a lot of participation or a lot of ownership for them to join us to build greater stuff online, I think.
That's amazing. Hey, as Chief Operating Officer, you probably have a bunch of data sets or specifically, KPIs, metrics that you look for, say on a weekly basis. So what are some of the numbers that you look for when it comes to instant articles that matter to you?
I have to be very realistic now. Two things: we look at engagement, and another thing is monetization, the revenue itself. So it's just my weekly KPI, or actually monthly. I don't really look at it weekly, but yes, we try to review these two KPIs, on a monthly basis to see how it's working, how it's performing.
I have a question for Alex. Alex, how are you rolling out? Instant Articles is now on its third or fourth generation. It's had a few updates. It's become really powerful in its integrations, and how do you and the number of tools available to somebody. How are you rolling out teams that train newsrooms and train media organizations on actually using this well?
Thanks for that question. So actually, the first thing is that we are here to support newsrooms who are interested in instant articles, who are indeed looking for new, engagement and revenue opportunities. So, first of all, to anybody on this session, to just reach out to me via email if you are interested in instant articles. So the way we kind of set things up is kind of two pillars. We either engage, and to be honest, with relatively large companies, which require the coming together of pretty large teams from editorial and ops and so on. We engage with them on a one-to-one basis, where we will kind of, white glove service and work them through the process of onboarding onto instant articles, introducing them into the data insight tools that Lee Chin talked about once they're implemented, with CrowdTangle and others, learning how to monitor themselves the content, monitor themselves the performance. That's the first thing. The second thing is that obviously we want to be able to reach the ecosystem at scale. And so we organize programs, broad scale training programs, to support partners in a product adoption or in a specific area that they want to gain expertise in. So actually, we've got towards the end of September, we're doing a kind of IA optimization kind of mini boot camp, which we can share the link to for people who are interested in. And we're looking at, before the end of the year, to be doing a foundational instant article boot camp, which will be a series of training for a broader cohort to participate in and to learn more. So we do everything at scale, either at scale or one-to-one. And then the resources that we shared earlier also has all of the kind of online kind of tips and tricks and learnings that people can consume at their leisure to learn about instant articles. But please do reach out if anybody does have any further questions.
Cool. Hey, Lee Chen, a question about engagement numbers. I'm always intrigued by this. So if we were to look at a metric like pages per session, what is it like on IA and what is it like on your website, and how do they compare?
Sorry, pages per session?
Yeah, page views per session.
You mean pages per session? Okay, sorry. Obviously, okay, I don't really have the numbers now offhand.
Or a hunch.
But I know the bounce. Yeah, a hunch. I know that the bounce rate on IA is of course lower because it's a native product on itself on Facebook, right? So the bounce rate is lower. But yeah, I have not really looked into the pages per session per se on IA for that.
Yeah, and would you know, like for example, in IA, when you scroll to the bottom and you get to the footer, and you get the recommendations in there, how many people click on to another one? What is the flow on rate like?
Yeah, that I have to get back. I mean, yes, I don't think that we have been looking at that one, but because we look at the traffic that comes in from IA, so we do know that there is a steady grow, or it has been a staple number. So that's a part about it.
Right, and that would be someone scrolling through the IA article, hitting a link, and then ending up on your site.
Yes. But we do monitor those that come directly from the link at the footer. So that is the part that we monitor.
I wanted to ask you, Lee Chen, about newsletters. At Splice, we're especially excited about newsletters. You know, in fact, Splice started 5 years ago as a single newsletter company, and that was our product, and that's all we had. And I think, you know, we see that as a very powerful engine for engagement, obviously. And I'm looking at the case study on the Facebook Journalism Project website, and I'm excited to see that you guys increased by 120% in a single year. I mean, that is insane because of the instant article calls to action. How do you?
Yes, but
I didn't realize
think
that the email integration was so powerful.
I think we have to be very careful about this because we are also having the COVID bump recently. So the numbers do take into account of a particular period within that time. So it might not be the same, and you know, compared to that period of time. I mean, if it's not COVID, yeah, if everyone's not staying at home.
No, you should take some credit for this because this is between January 2018 to January 2019. Nobody, thankfully, had heard of COVID then. So that it is actually incredible. And you know,
Yes.
We need a few chats with Alex.
I think so.
To look at that.
Alex has just put the link up to the case study on.
Sorry. Come again. It's January 2018, right? The dates.
2018 to 2019, yes.
It's also amazing. No, it coincided with the mother of all election for Malaysia.
Oh, that's great.
Absolutely.
There you go.
There's another great traffic bump. Yeah, so there were a few great traffic bump during that time.
Yeah. I do think that's a good point, though, in terms of generally product adoption and what we see publishers do in terms of, you know, whether it's video, whether it's instant articles, whether it's their kind of different strategies on different platforms, is obviously to take advantage of the news cycle. So, you know, what we kind of see with publishers is that by monitoring CrowdTangle and monitoring where they're seeing that they're suddenly starting to overperform on a specific story, that's when you double down and that you really kind of, you know, go aggressively with your content strategy on whatever social media, on whatever kind of format, whether it's video or instant articles. I think the news cycle does follow peaks and troughs. So whenever you see that there's going to be a peak, that's when you want to really double down.
Yeah, very good. Another question from Junie. Junie, why don't you unmute yourself and ask the question?
Hi, Lee Chen. I was just wondering if there was ever a concern that IA traffic would sort of cannibalize your web traffic, or does it, you know, for not referring traffic to the web, or is it new traffic that you otherwise wouldn't get?
Okay. This is a wonderful question that I have been expecting it to pop up, and it's from Junie. So it's great. It's really great. I think when we look at it, I think that I think for publisher, you know that Facebook, it's a great platform for you to source new traffic. And it's always at the back of our mind that it's gonna cannibalize us or it's gonna hurt your own digital asset. But again, you have to consider it. I mean, when we take the position that it will help us to grow our own digital asset and how to make the full use of it. And we always fall back to one thing, you know, our audience, it's our top priority, their experience. How do they actually have the best experience to access to our story? And on Facebook, it's instant article. Maybe, you know, when they come back to our site, it's a very different experience as well. We also tend to, you know, for those who visit our own website, we tend to serve a different flavor of stories compared to what we do on Facebook. So we are treating this as different platform, different products, though we don't own the page itself. It's on Facebook, but we do treat it like a total different product, and we feature different content on these different products, and we want to reach out to people on these platforms, whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok or IG. So it's the same. I think we have been using, I mean, this is the same principle that holds us true in developing our digital content strategy.
It's very good.
And in terms of selling ads as well, was there, you know, how do the sales folks manage that, you know, because it's actually selling a different ad product?
A lot of training. a lot of training, and it's very, very challenging for our existing sales force. I have to be very honest about it, because when they sell print, it's only like inventory spaces, and now I'm telling you that you have to do branded content, you have to sell story ideas, and then this instant article, you have to direct sell the inventory on instant article. How do you explain it to them? It's a lot of work, but I think our team has been picking up quite well. Yeah, so I think it's an ongoing journey of learning. I think a lot of publishers are experiencing it now, whether it's in sales, marketing, or whether it's in terms of your content publishing. So I can't give you the perfect answer to it, but yeah, we're still learning.
Excellent. Hey, if I could ask one last question to wrap all this up.
Sure.
Li-Chen, give us 3 tips for any publisher that is thinking about optimizing instant articles for their, you know, revenue and audience engagement. What would you say?
I would only have one tip: go and try things out. Yeah. Go and try everything out, because our experience might be very different from another publisher, because you will have your own niche, and if you have been really good at newsletter for Splice, maybe you would be growing even faster. Just try it out and let me know the outcome also, please.
I know I'm definitely going to follow those tips. Yes, Alex.
I'll add a second tip, which is to try it out and then call Facebook for anything that you need as part of that kind of process.
There you go. The invitation is open, people. You heard it from Alex.
I have one thing to share. This is something that I don't know, but you know, before I go and bug Alex or his team about anything that I experienced on Facebook, I was in this news publishing group that's managed by Facebook Journalism Project as well. And it's wonderful because the folks there also share what problem they have. And you know, someone have answered, it's a bug, let's wait for it to be fixed. Then I know, okay, let's not bug Alex first. So that's also like kind of useful for us.
Really?
I have made my social media editor to use it as well, to be part of the group.
Guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Li-Chen, thank you so much. I know I've learned a lot. I'm coming back to you and Alex for more tips. I think we've got a lot of newsletter stuff to learn. Yas, you too. Thank you so much for your support. Before we go, thank you so much for coming. I want to thank our sponsors, Facebook Journalism Project. You've been a huge support. Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, thank you for standing by us. And MDIF, Google, Luminate, AFP, FOIO, and IMS. Also Click to View and Puma Podcast. Thank you so much for turning up. Do more beta. Come back tomorrow. Come back all month. We want to see you.